are now at Vivatech, and here with you, Anna Tutova, co-founder of Coinstelegram, and our guest, Benoit Pagotto, co-founder of RTFKT, which is probably the most popular for creation of digital sneakers with the Nike, and as well they have many other interesting partnerships with different luxury and entertainment brands.
And many, the Takashi Murakami as well, the best
Yeah,
artist in the
and
world.
best artist.
That's like one of the biggest thing. Yes.
So great to have you here, Benoit.
No, thank you.
Can you tell us about your background and how did you generally get into Web3 and NFT space?
My background, so I studied fine arts and then I worked a lot in advertising and consulting a lot for luxury clients, retail design. My student job I was at Colette, the really cool concept store in Paris, which is still today I think one of the places where I learned the most and that influenced a lot of how we run RTFKT today I think, because Colette was the first concept store where they were taking different parts of culture and putting it together under the same roof, but really merging high fashion with streetwear and art, design, all of that together. So I learned a lot when I was a student and working there as a day-to-day. And I got into NFTs and all of that. I mean, not really because I'm a huge gamer anyway to start with. Most of my favorite things I do in life is to play video games. And I think that's why, like, even though NFTs is great, I always consider it just as a medium to allow you to do things that you can normally only do in video games, which is to get people to own and trade and use digital assets. So when I discovered NFTs, I think it was in 2018. At the time I was working in esports. CryptoKitties, yeah, with CryptoKitties, or as well we worked, at the time I was in esports and I worked with a company that was making like NFTs out of Counter-Strike skins. So I was big into Counter-Strike because my team was at the time like the best in the world. And so that's how I got into it, and to me it was kind of a eureka moment because all my life I wanted to be able to do products that are mainly digital, but if you don't have a video game in a video game ecosystem, it's very hard to get people to collect digital collectibles. So that's the moment we started RTFKT. It was when all the NFT market started to blow up, and to us it was the perfect medium to do this vision of how you can make sneakers digital first and then use that as a more efficient fashion brand model where you work more on a made-to-order model rather than a produce first and do the seasons and and all that things. So to us it was a perfect canvas for us to do our brand idea, which was a brand that is sitting between reality and the virtual worlds and that is constantly playing around these spaces to make cool, exciting new stuff and innovations.
And as for the gaming, how many hours per day do you play games?
It depends. Like in the past few weeks, I played a lot because the new Zelda came out, and I think I did 130 hours,
Wow.
which is a lot. Yeah, a lot. But it plays
It's
Zelda.
like a separate job.
Almost, but also to me, I always considered when I play games that to me it's almost. I mean, I love and I enjoy it, right? But to me, a lot of ideas I have or things I come up with, it's because I've experienced them in video games. And I was always hired before like that because I was always known to be a social geek in a sense. So I'm very geeky, but I'm also very, a social person. And I was always trying to think, okay, how can you take what this game has done and how it can inspire to do something cool for a brand. And the new Zelda is really mind-blowing in the sense that the first one they did 6 years ago was already a revolution for how you consider open world games. Nintendo really did a living world where you didn't have like icons on the map. You could really see, okay, if you see something far away in the distance, it means there's something to do there. And the latest one, and again, I think its brands can really learn from, is they didn't do like just a sequel with big, marketing budget and voice actors or big story or whatever. They mainly added new gameplay mechanics. And the gameplay mechanics they did was they added even more what is called player agency. So you let the player do a bit what he wants and solve the puzzles the way he wants. There's not like one solution to solve the puzzles. Like you can creatively think of different ways and do it, sometimes in 10 seconds instead of 10 minutes because you were smart and you kind of hacked the game. But they gave the players the tools to almost hack the game as part of the gameplay. And to me, it's mind-blowing. And you just need to if you look on TikTok, like you put in the search like Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom, like to TOTK. Like you see what people are doing with these new gameplay mechanics they did, and it's mind-blowing. And I know most brands that are dying, to get organic content on TikTok, or like they're trying to talk to Gen Z and do all of that. But Nintendo, which is normally a company that's famously known to be hyper protective of their IP, and not leaving, not letting people do that much with their IP. I think with Zelda, what they did is really mind-blowing. So really, that's what I advise all my friends these days. I'm telling them, like, stop doing what you do. Like, you need to play Zelda. Like, you will learn more playing Zelda, especially if you play it with like your little brother, your little sister, and you see how they are embracing this freedom and these tools that are given in the game. You will learn more doing this than coming at this conference we're in right now.
Wow.
Yes.
So is it your favorite game now?
Right now, yes. Like honestly, I had high expectations for it, but they totally blew me away with the way they did it. And I spent. It came out 12th of November. I spent 130 hours in it since 12th of November. So in a month, I don't know what's the average per day, but it's still a lot. and really, and I had amazing time with it. I had great ideas playing it. And right now it's my favorite game, yes. And then I'm gonna move on to Diablo 4, but that's I need to save it because this one is gonna take a lot of my life as well.
And do you cooperate? Does Artifact cooperate with any games?
So we worked with a lot of blockchain-based games because they are easier to access, like the Sandbox, the Decentraland, like early days. But now, like of course, we're in touch with different game companies, and we want to do things in some of our favorite games. Like everything we do at Artifact since day one anyway, in terms of partnership, it's always partnering with people and things we really love as fans to start with, honestly, and just trying to realize a lot of our like teenage dreams in a sense. So there's lots of games we love, so of course there are some things that might happen at some point, but for now I'm not telling you anything.
Have you ever thought about creating your own game?
So this we did actually like little experiments like that, and I think today you can actually, this used to be something totally impossible in the past, because making a game in the gaming industry and all the different things and talent you need in place to make something good used to be impossible. But now since the 2010s, when the indie game movement started and all of that, and now especially if you look these days, like what Unreal and Epic has been doing with like integrating recently into Fortnite with the creative mode, and how now anyone can basically build a Fortnite map or a little Fortnite game mode and publish it on the Epic store, like is mind-blowing. So there is things you can do today, like we're working on a Fortnite map, of course, but I think now more than ever you can. So, but it's still like, it's a big leap to do it. So we're not working on our own game, but we're working with a lot of game tools, and I think that's the beauty of the game industry is more and more like the developers are opening their tools for people to build on top of their game or their platform, and so that people like us or like kids or even brands, like big brands, can leverage and start to make something that is a game without having to create a game company.
And can you tell as well about some of your recent partnerships, like with CAA, Creative Artist Agency, like how will you cooperate?
CAA, it's been great because we started discussion a long time ago actually, and it was again like something, it was more of a human thing. I got along really well with Jim, who's the president. We really got on a really good understanding of where the world was going and what it means to be a creative person in the future. So we discussed about working together for a long time, and we finally announced the partnership. So there's twofold to it. Like one is how can we work with them and their expertise in entertainment and media, movies, IPs, all of that, like with our creations to bring them to a new audience or new markets. And then the other side is, the really good thing with Artifact we have since day one is we have one of the most creative community of any brand in the world. Everyone is dying, I think, to have like such a vibrant community like we have that is smart, creative, knows how to understand 3D, very early adopter of AI. So we have this really good creative base, and we're gonna work with CAA and see like how can we provide that community we found like more value. So how can we educate them towards what it means to be a creative professional, what type of careers they can do, organizing some online meetups or physical meetups with some super, respected creative industry people. So it's two ways, like I'm very excited by this partnership, and also mainly because the people we work with as CA is people we really get along really, really well. And again, like all partnerships, they always start, even though, you know, from the outside you see two logos, behind it's people who met, had discussion and shared their world vision and agreed that together they can make something better, right? So that's always the most exciting.
So is it more partnership on the exchange of your communities, creatives, influencers, and education part, or will you issue as well some NFTs for them?
No, there's no plan for now, like to create NFTs for the CAA, or we're really thinking more of like how can we both work in the world where you mix creativity and business, and how when we're together can we make this better, right? Like for our projects, for our community, for their clients. So it's really more of an organic thing, and there's no specific plan of releasing NFTs. I think all of this is very old school type of marketing to do. We're mainly united ourselves around how can we make something great for the creative world together.
So what is the most powerful marketing tool for you for now?
To me, I mean, honestly, the most powerful marketing tool is just like making stuff that is dope, you know, like it's simple, it's the content, and you need your content to be fresh and excite people, because we're all on our phones every day and seeing so many things, you know, from brands, from amateurs, from influencers, and it's very hard to know what is, you know, really genuine and not. And I think people react when they see something that is genuinely cool and exciting and new, they will react to it, right? And one thing I learned as well, especially thanks to my co-founder Chris, because I used to be in more of the luxury background where everything needs to be perfect and, you know, super neat, etc. And he taught me that it's actually better if things is a bit controversial and a little bit not perfect, because people will react more to it. You know, it's gonna divide people. Some people are gonna love it, some people are gonna hate it, and that's actually the best marketing, when you do something that makes people really feel something, and it can make them feel love or hate, right? But as long as they feel something, it's great marketing. So that's what we do.
And don't you think that dope stuff is quite subjective?
But it's
some
subjective.
people may think it's cool.
No, I know, but then the thing is that if you're not cool, you cannot make cool stuff, right? That's why a lot of brands are hiring agencies to make cool stuff for them. But to me, that's the most important, and how we do the team even is, I'm a big fan of, and also I'm French, right? So I'm a big believer that there is good and bad taste. There's no like, oh, every taste is in the world. There is good and bad taste, but bad taste is actually an art to manufacture, you know, because a lot of people have bad taste and you need stuff for them, right? So it's, I think, to make cool stuff, there's no magic formula. You just need to have the right people in the team who come from the right cultural background, have the good curiosity of not being close-minded into what they do and never changing what they want to do. And when you combine them together, you can make dope stuff, because you did a dope group of people who have a really, a unique vision of the world, but that they share it together. And then, you know, like also when we do things, the first person we're trying to impress is ourselves. And if you have a good team and everyone loves what they do, usually, you know, it's gonna have a bigger impact marketing-wise globally.
And there is so much content nowadays. There are so many creators. So how does it differentiate? And they may be good, but they make create as well dope, cool stuff, but nobody still knows about them.
No, but so the difference is really like, do you understand as a creative, you know, the platforms you can publish in, like what type of media format works, you know, like it's just like TikTok used to be all about very short content, now it's like longer content. So you need to keep up with like what people are into in terms of media format, or and then after, but there again, like there's no magic formula. Like I think us were lucky to work so well so far. But I think if you're a creative person, like you need also to be able to understand that it cannot be only for the art, you know, just like I studied fine arts, and in France in school it was all about the art, whereas in the UK you also learn about the art business. And so you need a bit of both, and me, I love to be at that frontier between art and business, right, and how you balance it out. And I think so far the world has been a lot in favor of business, right, and it's business people making the big decisions, or that they listen to their marketing data to launch things. But in the end, like real true creative, they always have like an insight about what the world is gonna be or what people really want. So I'm trying to rebalance, you know, even like the relationship of power between creativity and business to make it more equal and even have creativity to be first.
And how do you see the activity with NFTs currently? We are some kind of mix of bear bull market in the transfer.
It's super bear market right now. I mean, to me, it was meant to happen, right? Because there was such a huge, spike, and it was during COVID, and everyone, was lost, and all the NFT people were having fun. So we were expecting at some point to have, it was meant to have like a crash at some point, because it was really going to lengths that was like totally unrealistic. So I think it's good in a sense that now the technology is gonna and the money side is gonna take a bit of a backseat, and really people are gonna leverage it more as a medium and not just as NFT for the NFT sake, right? Like what can you do because you have digital ownership? Like what can you do with it, right? So I think it's interesting. It's an interesting position. It's very hard for a lot of small Web3 companies that started during the hype or like raise money during the hype now to have to sustain, especially because the royalties are now not implemented anymore because of the new marketplace. So business model has changed. But I think it's still an amazing moment, and I truly think that it's just the beginning of a new era for like how digital artists or people who work in that field get better seat at the table and can actually create business without having to go through just being at the service of a business person.
And when do you think we will see the next bull market and how NFT space will be affected? And is it generational stuff with the adoption of NFTs and all these digital vaults?
Honestly, I've got no idea. Usually it's cyclical. It goes up and down. I got no idea. I truly think that the medium is here to stay, and that now for sure, like people paid attention to that big, revolution that started, and now I think it's gonna be more of a slow, more slow, but being implemented for true use case every day across many different industries and verticals. So I'm more waiting for that, for how it's really implemented into things that go beyond just the speculation, rather than having another big speculative bull market, right? Because that's not a benefit to the long term.
And do you invest yourself in crypto coins?
I don't. I'm not at all a trader or anything. I don't understand anything to this stuff. But I don't invest in coins or anything. I have a lot of NFTs. I still collect NFTs of artists I like, a lot of Japanese artists actually, and Korean, because it's stuff I love to begin with, and I think it's good because a lot of these artists used to be able to just do, Instagram posts and maybe get paid because they do a sponsorship thing one day with a brand, or some of them run a Patreon where they have a subscription model for $5 a month. And so it was really, a bit like of a grind. And so I think now, like thanks to that medium, a lot of them can do the same that a lot of contemporary artists are doing, which is live from their art, but except you don't need the gallery anymore, right? So that's what I'm excited about still, is how some artists are going to be able to make a living and develop their art and reach a new audience thanks to the technology.
And do you hold any Bitcoin or Ethereum?
I've got Ethereum and Bitcoin, yes, the classics, yes.
And what about Bitcoin ordinals?
No, so ordinals, I started to look into it quite a lot, especially because there was a bit, a big move towards the artist, towards that tech. So I'm starting to look into it, but again, I'm not at all like a financial or technical, super technical. I understand technology and I love it, but I'm not technical, so I'm not geeking out on that. I geek out on Zelda, not on ordinals. Yes.
One of your biggest collections is Clone X.
Yeah.
So can you tell how did you start working with Takashi Murakami?
With Takashi, I mean, again, it started because we're big fans of him. He's one of my favorite artists since very, very long time.
So did you just reach out?
We just reached out on Instagram, I sent him a DM, he replied, and then we got on the call and we showed him the project and he loved it, and it was now like, I think, 2021? Yeah, like almost two years ago now, yeah. And still today we work together, we became really good friends as well. He was here last week in Paris for a show in the Bourget, which is amazing. So no, he's an amazing person to work with, amazing artist, and I love the fact that he's not resting on his laurels, he's really always looking for new ways, and he really understands that it's important to do things for a new audience. Because if you're always feeding the same people, it's becoming, not sustainable and not exciting anymore. So Takashi really understood that with us, that we are like, new and fresh and reaching out for new type of audience and products. And collaboration has been amazing to work with. We learned a lot as well working with him, so it's been great.
And Artifact was acquired in the end of 2021 by Nike, so can you tell how did things change for you since that time?
It didn't change too much. Like now we work a lot closely to Nike to help them on their own, Web3 initiatives with .swoosh. But what's great is that we stay mainly, independent. Like Nike really understands that our strength is the brand and that we are not Nike, and that's why we can do things Nike cannot do. And then we work together, sometimes Artifact and Nike for collaborations, or we work with them on some, special projects. So it's been really, I think, really good for both parties. And they have a really, it's an amazing brand. But again, I always go back to the people. Like behind the brand, there is amazing, super smart, very innovative people who are working on really groundbreaking things and have big ideas. And we're super happy to get to know them and work with them and help them release some of these things. It's been really good.
Yeah, that's cool. And can you share as well any other your recent partnerships and future plans for the development?
No. We never announce in advance. There's always things going on. We did Remova. Finally, the physical luggage is shipping this week. Very happy to have that. They've been amazing partners to work with. And here, VivaTech, we announced that we're working with Shuemura, which is really good makeup brand that we, again, like with Japanese influence and us, we love all these things, and really happy to work with such, exciting brands. And again, like behind the brands, really cool people, really good teams who really want to push things forwards. And it's always a relationship where we learn from each other, right? It's always a two-way thing when you do a collaboration. And I'm very peculiar on that. Like when we work with people, we always want it to be exciting for both parties, and then we come out of it with something we release that none of us could done individually, and that we both learn from each other to make ourselves better.
Yeah, that's one of the most important things.
Yeah.
And what's the customer profile of people who buy these NFTs like Remova, phygital?
It depends. It's quite varied, honestly. We're lucky in the sense we have a lot as well of our fan base in Asia, in Japan and Korea.
So do you see Asians are more active in buying such stuff?
Right now, yes, and I think in Asia it's been a long time that video games is esports has been a big thing, and there's the collectibles culture, especially in Japan, it's been there since day one and are the best at making collectibles and IPs. So there's a natural tendency for this audience to understand that and early adopt it faster. But of course, we have a lot of American degens, like normal crypto people, of course. But where I think it's good in our community is that we have a really good mix. And again, I think the thing we're the most proud of is a big part of the community are people who are super creative, using 3D, using the 3D assets we give them to make stuff even cooler than us. And so that's the most satisfying thing is I really always wanted for us to have an audience that is active and not passive, and to see them do things with our assets and our IP is the most rewarding thing for us. Yeah.
And how do you see the development of the ecosystem here in France? How much active is it?
France, I think, is very active. Paris these days is on fire, honestly. Especially as well with VivaTech, everyone is here. But it's really good because I think France and Paris has a big play to do there, because we're great at technology, amazing engineers, great at art, of course. And there's quite a big, I think, ecosystem in Paris. Personally, I don't go to the meetups and all of that.
You play games?
I play games at home. It's better for me. But I know it's pretty active, and there's lots of interesting figures emerging and doing cool things. I think we're inspiring a lot of people with the fact that we're around as well. So I think Paris has a big play to do, because it's again like how you combine creativity and business, and then France has been always like championing creativity, and of course with this amazing legacy, but not afraid to think of the future, and really proud actually to be French these days, and I think Paris is really the place to be these days, especially with fashion week, all of this happening. It's never gonna change. Like Paris is the best for that, and
it's a capital of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for
No,
sharing
thank you.
your thoughts and your latest news and partnerships. partnerships with us. Great to have you.
No, thank you. See you.